Hello and welcome to another episode of the Bleeding Metal podcast. My name is Pia, my pronouns are she, her, and I am here together with...
Hi, I'm Suzana. My pronouns are also she, her, and I'm so happy to be back.
So today we will talk about the topic that caught everyone's attention, I think. That is the Linkin Park reunion or the comeback or however you want to call it, with new vocalist, but also with a new drummer, with Colin Britton on the drums, and they have a new live guitar player. His name is Alex Feder, and he will be the live replacement for Brett Delson, but Brett Delson kind of stayed in the band. I didn't understand that completely. I think they also don't really know how they will make that, but yeah. That will be the new Linkin Park lineup for the live shows. And yeah, of course, Emily Armstrong from the band Dead Sarah as the new lead vocalist. They said all the time she's not replacing Chester Bennington, who passed away 2017 because of suicide. They said something like all of the fans are Chester and he can't be replaced, but this is their way now to continue with the band. Yeah, what was your first impression, Suzana?
I heard the single, the first one that they just released, The Emptiness Machine, and I have not been a long time Linkin Park fan, so I was just coming at it with open heart. I was absolutely not expecting anyone to replace Chester. I think it's great that that's absolutely not what they are doing, and I really enjoyed the single. I got it stuck in my head for days. I was just listening to it. Yeah, it's sketchy. We can say that. It's very good. And I was just listening to it in the morning. I was having breakfast and listening to the new song. And from just an artistic point of view, without really considering replacements or not, I think she did a great job. I saw also some of the first videos of their first live performances. And I think she also has a very good stage presence as well. I think she's doing a good job. I didn't see any reason for any backlash, at least in the artistic point of view. I didn't see anyone complaining about her singing, her technique, her voice, or stage performance. At least in my bubble, I didn't see any complaints about that. What about you and your bubble?
My bubble was also very positive about her. And for my other podcast, my German podcast, Pommesgabel, I recorded a talk about the whole Linkin Park discography with a colleague, and he is a very, very big Linkin Park fan. And he also said that he likes the new vocalist, but he was also so sad that many people, when they watched the live stream, were writing really mean comments about her. And yeah, that's the dark side of the internet, or the dark side of everything.
Yeah, I was talking to a friend of mine, and she is a big Linkin Park fan. So she was the first person that I talked to. I was like, "Oh, did you check the new song? What did you think about it?" And she was very positive, and I think her feelings were kind of similar to what I have seen online, that people are happy that the band is making a comeback, that, of course, Chester is irreplaceable. No one was expecting that. And I think she was very happy that the band is back. Like, whatever happens, we know that we have a future with the band now. Mm-hmm. And it gave her kind of like a nostalgic feeling that, you know, that band that you used to love some years ago is back. And of course, she was not expecting a replacement, but just the fact that you can listen to the band again, new songs, a new chapter. She was very excited about that.
Can you maybe tell us a bit about how Linkin Park is seen in Brazil? Because here in Germany, Linkin Park is a very, very big name, and they also played a lot of concerts here. They will come here already in September, so this month, for the first European gig. And all the mainstream media also covered the news. So also the really big magazines that everybody is reading here. And I know that it's difficult for you in Brazil to see bands from Europe also live, but Linkin Park, since they are from the US, maybe that's easier, or is it the same that it's difficult to catch them on tour, that they don't really tour the south of America?
Yeah, I think they are a big name here as well. And I think they are kind of a gateway band for a lot of people that started listening to rock and then maybe went to something heavier. So I think a lot of people have Linkin Park as one of the first kind of heavier bands that they listened to growing up or some years ago. I think they're very popular here as well. And yes, you are right. It's more difficult for us to see bands live, and it's always a thing that when bands do live tours or world tours, it's usually the US and Europe. I think it's so funny. That's like, I've seen so many memes about this online, like world tour, and then it's Europe, and sometimes only Central Europe, not really Europe, but a few countries, Central Europe, and then Canada and the US, and that's the world. Are you sure? Are you sure? And, but also in Brazil, we have this different reality. There's also a lot of memes about that. When you talk about the whole country, there is a big portion of the country that is left out of the concept of the whole country as well. So usually when bands, and yes, maybe more bands from the US come here more often than bands from Europe, maybe because of financial reasons. But usually when it's touring Brazil, it means two cities. It means São Paulo and Rio de Janeiro. I'm not sure if you know that, but São Paulo and Rio de Janeiro are pretty close, geographically speaking. So,
and Brazil is very, very big.
Brazil is a big chunk of land. So if you're touring two cities in one region, because both cities are in one region, and they are pretty close to one another, it's like I think 45 minutes flight from São Paulo to Rio and vice versa. And it's a 3-hour flight from São Paulo to my hometown, for example. So if you're only touring two cities, they're pretty close to one another. That's not the whole country. So it also happens that many of the big bands that actually do come here to Brazil only play those two cities. They play the Southeast. Sometimes some bands play in the South as well. So yeah, not the whole country. So it's a whole different reality for me as well. But I think Linkin Park is one of those bands that are big enough that they're going to play here. And yeah, probably São Paulo and Rio, but the world tour will include Brazil at some point.
Let's see. And did the mainstream media also cover the news about them?
I don't think so. No. Everything that I've read about their comeback and their new singer, I've read in music websites and music magazines. Mainstream media, no.
Before we talk a bit more about Emily Armstrong, I want to talk about a side note that I think it was very mean of them to make the news on a Thursday when bands release albums on Friday, which they usually do. So nobody was interested in the Friday releases anymore. It was a bit mean, but yeah.
They took the whole attention for everybody. It's like, yeah.
Yes.
Pay attention to me first and pretty much only. Yeah. Yeah.
But most of all, I'm very happy that they chose a woman, because that again shows how important women have become in the heavy music industry, especially on stage. And they didn't make a huge thing about it. They were not like, yay, we are having a female new vocalist. They were just saying, this is our new vocalist. And I also like that she's not super young. She's 38. Mike Shinoda, the mastermind of Linkin Park, is 47, so still 9 years older, but they could have chosen a very, very young woman as well. And I'm very happy that they chose someone more or less of their age, so that also fits. And also her style, the clothes that she's wearing, they fit the band perfectly. And also the skills that she has with her voice, because she also has this emotional, clean vocals. And also when doing the quote unquote screams, they also go in the direction of what Chester did. But of course, you cannot compare male voice to a female voice when it comes to clean vocals. So I think that was both very clever of them. And also, I think it's really, really cool that one of the very, very big names in heavy metal has a female vocalist now, replacing a male vocalist. That also shows that it's possible, that you don't have to look for a male replacement when you had a male singer before.
Exactly. I think that was my number one favorite thing about this, is that I hope this opens the door for, more possibilities for more women to be considered when a replacement is needed, or when a new band is coming up, or when a project is coming up. Because, hopefully the gender thing is not going to be a barrier anymore. And I think specifically with Linkin Park, I think I agree with you that it was very clever for them to do that. And I think it was a strong way of really starting a new chapter for the band. Maybe they wanted to really steer away from any comparison to any guy joining the band being compared immediately to Chester. Maybe they wanted to really say, like, no, this is never going to be a replacement. So the farther away that you can go from having a Chester 2.0, that would be really cheesy. It would be horrible having a guy try to kind of sound like him. It would be, I think it would be really sad, especially for the fans, but for music in general, it would be very sad to try to get someone to kind of mimic what he was doing. It would be bad. Yeah. But I think it was very smart of them to really steer away far from that, and replacing him and inviting a woman to do that was very smart. And I think I saw Mike Shinoda himself in an interview saying that he is very happy to have Emily do her thing, be herself, and kind of imprint her in style in the band, and do the best that she can being herself, and never really try to be Chester in any way. I do want to see her use her clean vocals more, to see that maybe in the next singles that they release, we get to see that more. I want to see that. It's going to be interesting. And I also noticed her outfit, at least these first videos. I like her clothes as well.
Yes.
And I think it feels like, like you said, they didn't make a huge deal out of, look at us being diverse. We are hiring a woman because look at us being a feminist. It was great that they didn't do that. And also her performance and her clothes also feel that way, that she was chosen because of her attitude, her stage performance, her relationship with the band, the way she sings, her talent. It was in any way, I don't see that she was chosen because she's young or good looking or a woman. She's a singer, she's an artist, she fits the band. And
exactly.
I like that too. Yeah. It was very, very clever of them. Yeah.
And honestly, if you look for a Chester voice double, there are tons of cover bands, so you can listen to them if you want that.
That would be so creepy. I think it would be so sad. It would be creepy and sad. I don't know. It would be very weird.
It would be very close to what some people also feared, that they might use artificial intelligence and AI to copy Chester. That would have been creepy as well.
Yeah.
What I also liked was how she was introduced, because Mike Shinoda was the one who talked in the beginning a lot to the fans. And the further the concert went, she was talking more and more, and also letting the audience sing along and everything. So she had a very soft start. It wasn't like she had to be on stage and talking to the fans right away. So they also made a very smart move with that. Besides that, I also want to mention, for those who don't know her previous band, Dead Sarah, of course, it's not a big name in the industry. I didn't know the band before as well, but a friend of mine told me that they were the opening act for many, many very, very big bands. So she was also used to sing in front of a big audience. Not that they were coming especially to see her, like it's now the case, but it's not that she was only singing on very small stages and now the big one. So she was kind of used to that before as well. And again, that's very smart of them.
Yeah. And I think it shows that she was absolutely nervous. I can only imagine that she was very nervous, but she did great. I don't think she was, maybe that slow start that you mentioned also helped her warm up. She wasn't trying to be the big star from the very first second. She had like a warm up and she there was talking more to the public. It was a way of her to getting into the thing. But I think she showed a lot of attitude and a lot of stage presence right away. So yeah, it shows that she has experience doing that. Yeah. And I was reading that apparently it was not a last minute thing, because apparently the first time that she kind of auditioned with the band was back in 2019. So even before the pandemic. I don't know if that was necessarily an audition, but I think they were already back then experimenting or trying to come up with solutions for a band comeback. I assume they also did the same experiment with other singers. So I think her relationship with the band is not something that just happened. They have been in contact one way or another since 2019, and she was already recording things with the band already back then. So I guess it also helps that when you're finally out there on stage releasing something new, you already have this rapport with one another. You already have a relationship with the rest of the band. It helps.
Yes. And how awesome is that they kept it as a secret? I know there were rumors that they now have a female singer, but no name was dropped or anything. And also there was an audience. They must have gotten the tickets from somewhere to that show.
Right.
So somehow it worked.
Yeah, the marketing department there did a very good job. That not only they had a great single to release, but also this bombshell of news. And it all worked pretty well, I think. Yeah.
Of course, people were looking who Emily Armstrong is, and we had a short chat before we decided to do this episode, where we also talked about what people found out about her. And the first thing that I read about her was also that she is close to the Scientology. I don't know if you can call it a church or something. And we also exchanged our thoughts on that. So is Scientology a thing in Brazil, or is it, I don't know.
No, not at all. Not at all. Is it a thing in Germany?
Not really. They dropped numbers about members, but we also have research here that say the numbers are much lower than what they say, how many members they have. And also, I didn't really pay attention to them until I started studying, and people dropped the name Scientology, and I was like, what is it? And some people were like, how can you not know what Scientology is? And then I started reading about it, and I was like, okay, it's not cool that they separate their members from people that they were around before that. But in some, I didn't read that they do any harm on purpose to other people. So for me, it's just another religion. I'm also not a religious or spiritual person at all. I like it when other people find spirituality or find their purpose or find comfort in religion and everything. I'm very happy when people do that, but that's not what I do. So maybe I lack also of understanding here for that whole thing, because for me, Scientology is just another religion that I will never be part of. So
yeah, I agree with you. I'm also not religious myself, but I am also happy that other people find comfort and relief in religion. So if it works for other people, why not? That's great. But it's not me. And it's not even a conscious decision. It's just not how I feel. I was never really drawn to any kind of organized religion or any kind of spirituality. But I was reading about Scientology specifically because of Emily Armstrong and her ties to the church. They call themselves a church. So that's the word that I'm going to use. And yeah, Scientology is not a thing here in Brazil either. I don't think of Scientology as a religion that regular, normal, everyday people have. It's like, it's Tom Cruise's thing. It's Hollywood's thing. I usually just think it's like, it's John Travolta and Tom Cruise and that's their thing. So usually when someone is said to be part of this church, I'm always like, what? And the stuff that I was reading about feels a lot more like conspiracy theory than anything else, because I was reading about her ties to Scientology. And what I have learned so far is that she was born into the church because her parents are from the Church of Scientology. And so I don't think she had any choice there. And also her parents are supposed to be prominent figures in the Scientology church. So they are big shots there. I assume she lived inside the church and with the rituals and whatever it is through her childhood and maybe teenage years. Anywhere that I checked, I got the same information that people don't know now if she's still part of Scientology or not. I got some hints that maybe she is not anymore because she identified herself as queer and the Church of Scientology doesn't like that. Surprise, surprise. Some fans have also read into some of her lyrics with Dead Sarah, and she writes a lot about breaking away from power, breaking away from authority, being who you are. So people take that as like hints that she has breaking away from Scientology. But again, like you mentioned, the church seems to isolate themselves a lot from, it's their world and then other people's world. So some people also, I've read that we don't know for sure if she's not part of Scientology anymore, because that for her would mean pretty much cutting ties with her parents and presumably other parts of her family as well. So it would probably be a very difficult decision. And yeah, but nobody knows more about that. She has not talked openly about that in any way. And all the things that I've read about Scientology that seem very bad about the religion itself, I have no confirmation of anything. Like some people say that Scientologists support human trafficking, for example, sexual abuse against its members, mostly women, of course. Of course, there is the whole violence in the fact that they separate themselves from the world as well. So separating children from their friends and maybe homeschooling them. There is this whole aspect of brainwashing, and this whole thing is violent in itself, if true. But yeah, but I have no confirmation of any of that. I don't think Scientology is a very open religion that you can just learn about it from any trustworthy source of information. So all of those things for me still in the rumor department, cannot confirm. So as far as I'm concerned, her being part of a organized religion is not a problem at all. Well, maybe we'll recap this episode if anything horrible surfaces about her and her parents or her religion.
I didn't know that her parents actually raised her also into this religion or cult or however you want to call it. And that's a very important point, because my relationship to my parents is very good. And maybe she also has a very good relationship to her parents. And yeah. I hope she has. And then you don't go out there in public and say that the thing that is the maybe most important thing for your parents is a bad thing, or you turn your back completely on that. So I could 100% understand that. And then she's making a very good move here in just not talking about it, or talking only very little about that, and also not confirming that she might be still part of it. So I can totally understand her here. And for me, you can find bad things in every religion. I don't want to say that it's not a big thing if they really, quote unquote, support abuse or whatever. I don't like that, but I don't like many things in other religions as well. Religions are or should be a private thing. You should keep them private. That's what I think.
Me too. Yeah. If it's her religion, I don't care. I think one thing that maybe we should mention that should be noteworthy is because of Scientology, I think the main accusation, quote unquote, against her is the fact that she supported actor Danny Masterson some years ago when he was sentenced to 30 years of prison for raping 2 women. Other women also accused him of sexual assault, but he was sentenced for these 2 cases. And he was sentenced last year. He's in prison now, and he was sentenced to 30 years of jail for those 2 cases. Apparently, he drugged and raped 2 women, so very serious crime there. And the implication for her is that apparently this actor is from the Church of Scientology as well. And I think around her age, I think he's a bit older than her, but close in age, and that they were friends. And she was called to talk about him in preliminary hearings before the trial for his rapes went on. And she supported him during these hearings. I don't know more details about that because I don't think any more details were released. But I think it was part of when sometimes when you have a trial, you have people who knows the accused, and you want to just know who this person is and their friendships, their family relations. So I think maybe she was called to talk about him as a person, his character, who he was. I don't think that her testimony was in any way involved with the crimes itself. Maybe it was about him. And yeah, like we talked before recording the episode, she has already released a statement denouncing him and saying that she made a mistake in saying, I don't know if she said good things about him, but yeah, supporting him. And I think I have the quote here, if that's relevant, but she wrote saying, several years ago, I was asked to support someone I considered a friend at a court appearance and went to one early hearing as an observer. Soon after, I realized I shouldn't have. I always tried to see the good in people, and I misjudged him. I have never spoken with him since. Unimaginable details emerged, and he was later found guilty. To say it as clearly as possible, I do not condone abuse or violence against women, and I empathize with the victims of these crimes. I think she was very direct here. No nice words. Yeah, she supported a friend. She found out he was not a good person as she thought he was, and she's just condemning him for his crimes. Yeah.
Yes. And I think that's what happened, not in this degree, but I think it happens to all of us that we misjudge someone also in a positive way. Like we consider someone as a friend, and then it turns out that it's an asshole and we don't want to be friends with them anymore. And I would say that is life. And now, of course, you can say, but if he did a crime like that, there must have been hints. I would say no, because there are people who are living a second life with a second partner and children and everything. So all of that is possible. People can mask so much that I don't know her or anyone involved in this case, of course, but I would believe any person who tells me I made a mistake here, I trusted someone I shouldn't have trusted. So that's another thing where I would say it doesn't really matter that much to me, because she kind of apologized also for that with that statement. She made it clear that she is not a supporter of him. And I would say, to sum it up, if that's all that the haters out there have against her, they got nothing.
Yes, that's something that I wanted to ask you about. Again, at least in my internet bubble, I did not see a lot of hate about, or any negative comment pretty much at all about her singing, her style, her technique, her talent, her stage presence. So I did not see a lot or any negative comment about her as an artist. But what I saw when I tried to, when I started to actually dig in the whole Scientology thing and all the backlash, I got a lot of stuff about her as a person. Like, yeah, she's an okay singer, whatever. But did you know that she's from this weird religion? And there is this guy who was friends with her and he committed a crime. We should say that the crime is on him.
Mm-hmm.
It's not on her to pick up clues or whatever, So I don't know. I thought it was very telling of a kind of hidden sexism there, that the haters were not paying attention to her as an artist. And maybe because as an artist, she is at least okay. There is nothing really terribly wrong with her as an artist. So they wanted to pick apart and try to find something bad to say about her as a person. It's sexist, and it's terrible that it keeps happening. That sometimes when you want to take down a woman who is in a position of power or in a position of being in the spotlight or being celebrated for something, and you can't say that she's stupid or bad at what she does, then you start to discredit her as a person. Like, she shouldn't even be where she is. That was very sad. And it keeps happening to women, right?
Yes. Honestly, I think that would have happened to anybody who is there to quote unquote replace Chester. Even if it would have been a male vocalist, people would just hate him because he's not Chester, right? But still, it's easier to criticize women because we learned that, and maybe the hate is bigger, or there are more haters out there because she's a woman. Of course, we didn't do any research or anything on that, but I would agree with you on that.
Yes, we would never know what it would be like if it was a guy replacing Chester. I think, yes, I agree that there would be a lot of hate as well. And the whole comparing with Chester is always very unfair because, yeah, he was very talented. And not only that, he was also a personality apart from music. People loved him for his statements, his interviews, his positions on things. I have this feeling that it would be a different kind of hate if it was a guy.
Maybe they would have gone or would have talked about, he doesn't sound like Chester.
Yes.
That they would have looked for something else to criticize.
Yeah, I feel like criticizing her talent, her performance, again, that would have been fair. I like the way she sound. I like the new single. I liked her live performances. But it's fair if you didn't like it, for example. Maybe you don't think her voice suits the band. But the whole taking her down as a person, it really bothers me. It really bothers me when it's about discrediting the person. Like, she shouldn't be there because whatever. Or when it's about a woman's body. Whenever it goes to those two paths, I'm like, no, come on.
Yes. and that's again why I am happy that she's 38 and not super young, because I think she can deal with this whole thing better than a younger person would have been able to. And I also paid attention to the lyrics of the song, and the chorus is that you cut me open just to watch me bleed, gave up who I am for who you wanted me to be. Don't know why I'm hoping for what I won't receive, falling for the promise of the emptiness machine. So I thought they were seeing this. Of course, when you're having a new singer, then there will be a lot of hate. And this is kind of also an answer to that. And also, we should not forget that Mike Shinoda and also the other members of Linkin Park are people, and they are also artists, and they want to express themselves. They are musicians. Maybe they have this need to continue with the band also for themselves. And who are we to judge? So nobody can force you to be a fan of the new Linkin Park. If you don't like it, listen to something else. But we are not allowed to tell our artists, not even our favorite band, what to do. It's on them to decide what they want to do with their band.
Yeah, that's true. We should remember that the band is not one guy, and the other musicians in the band, they also have projects and visions and ideas that they want to communicate.
Yes, and Chester Bennington, even wasn't a founding member of the band. They found him later.
Exactly. Do you think Emily will be writing for Linkin Park as well?
Yes, I think so. I hope so.
Yeah, I hope so too, because that will be interesting, having like a different vision, different ideas. That will be cool. Not only her as an interpreter of other people's ideas, but also her own ideas. It's going to be interesting to see that play out too. Yeah.
Yes.
It's going to be very interesting if like a band as big as Linkin Park does this, then maybe this is an open door for other bands to consider members regardless of gender. And I think it's going to be interesting seeing other bands experimenting with that, even if it's just an experiment. Yeah, I hope this is an open door for more women.
Yes, that's what we always say, always like to say in this podcast. So people out there who listen to this episode, please let us know what you think about the new Linkin Park singer, your opinion about the reunion in general, and follow us on Instagram. We are at Bleeding Metal Pod. And I hope you will listen to one and another episode of this podcast as well. Thank you for the conversation, Suzana. And thank you out there for listening. Bye-bye.
Yeah, bye-bye.